with all these intuitive EFT tap and chats, you can tap along on the side of the hand. There's meridian points along the side of the hand that when we tap, it can actually release any stored tension or emotions, as some of what I might say may be triggering to some or might not be triggering to other people. You have the option not to tap and just watching, or you can tap along, tap and chat. So I was thinking, like I was going back looking at all the old videos that I've done, and I did see that one of my earliest ones was on coronavirus consumption. And the reason I bring that up is in that video, I talked about whether you consume your news source from a mainstream media or an alternative media, it has the same effect on the body, that being stress. Now, with everything like whether we're posting things about the virus or whether it's pro or against sort of thing, it really, I don't want to say has no effect at all to the current world situation. It does bring awareness, but anything that you put out there is just going to circulate. It's a form of it. It's its own form of propaganda in a way. Now you might say, well, I've got the right form of propaganda, but it's also like everyone's got their own different views on what is right, sort of thing. So whether it's the right or the wrong, what it does to the population is produce stress, which is what I was talking about in the coronavirus consumption early video. So whether you're promoting social justice or promoting this do what you need to do sort of thing, how it onflows. And if we're not doing something, then we're stewing on something. So without actually active change on a top level government level, then we're just posting a lot of our own versions of the truth, our own versions of what is right or wrong, and how that is interpreted by the viewer of that is its own form of stress. Now, we can't control everything. We can't control what is out there. We can't control what we consume. We can't control what, if I stepped out of the door right now sort of thing, I can't control all the elements that will affect me, but I can control how I respond to it. Am I reacting instantly? Do I look at something and whether it's social media or even relationships, friendships sort of thing, it doesn't just have to be with the virus. Am I instantly seeing something and going, that really pisses me off? Or even worse, am I going, is that really pissing me off? And I do nothing about it. And then the suppression starts to happen. So that's where the actual issues start to lie, where health issues do start to come up. Now, I am not a trauma expert. I'm no professional in any way sort of thing, but there is two versions of trauma. There's big T trauma and little t trauma. So your big T trauma is when you have like a car accident, or if there's like some sort of or a war event sort of thing, sort of more your PTSD type examples. Now, some of these can be recovered from, some can't. Some are just maintaining to actually get to a healthy state. And then we have the little t traumas. Now, these little t traumas are your little events of suppression, are these little things, these wounds. And I'm not talking about accidents. I'm not talking about big war events. I'm not talking about the war veterans. I'm talking about the people that don't get seen, heard, validated, that may get bullied, may get their voice shut down. They might have their needs not met. And I'm talking more on an emotional level rather than something physical. All these emotional elements start to compound into the body, start to restrict. So when we see something that promotes something that makes us angry, and we don't acknowledge that anger, or we don't express it in a healthy way where no one gets hurt, including ourselves, then that restriction of oneself starts to happen. That closing in on the body, that pulling in of that fascia, the heart not having the arteries fully open sort of thing, because we're in a stressed, constricted state, which is what I was saying way early in when all this stuff started to happen, was like what we consume. If we're consuming a lot of toxicity, a lot of fear, a lot of anger, then that's not going to cause us wellness in our body. So in order to respond healthily is to go, okay, I can't control what always comes into my life. I can't like be tunnel vision and everything, but what we can control in the sense of how we respond, how we start to release a lot of this stored tension that is in the body, these frustrations that are in our body, these stresses, the sense of helplessness, the sense of overwhelm of like, I must do something, but I don't know how, or I can't. So once again, if we're not doing, we're stewing in the stress. It's a little pot of stress that we're stewing in, which causes inflammation in the body once again. So having awareness of something actually helps towards a recovery, or even an awareness of like, I'm in a burning building, I better get out. I've got inflammation every time I see this, or I get a constricted stress, or a chest or stomach every time I look at something on social media or watch the news and see something that I'm actually helpless about. It does remind me of a joke. This is where my brain goes sometimes, where Billy Connolly, this is a long time ago, and he talked about where the news was saying there's a fire in Africa sort of thing. And he's like, and this is like a stand-up show, and he's like, okay, well, I'll just get my buckets of water, get onto the plane sort of thing. And it's like, I'm coming sort of thing. It's like, I'll put out the fire with these 2 buckets of water sort of thing, because the news has said something is very scary that's affecting other people. But if we can't do anything logically, or can't do anything where we can actually instigate change, then the change is definitely going to happen in our body, because we'll start feeling that frustration, that helplessness. And some of this comes from a good place, because we want to help, but we can only help ourselves first. Like the oxygen mask on a plane, you got to put that on yourself first before helping the other person. Otherwise, both pass out. So rather than restricting oneself, freeing oneself of these emotional confines, of these emotional frustrations, acknowledging also when it's happening and going, okay, rather than sitting in this pot of stress, I will move out of it and let go of it. When we want to grow something, whether it be a plant, whether it be a child, whether it be an animal, anything in our life, we tend to nurture that within. So rather than consuming something that's going to damage that growth or that self-growth, by lessening the intake of that, then we can actually start to promote a well-being within ourselves. It's like clearing away the weeds within our garden sort of thing, so something natural can grow up. And it also takes self-nurturing, self-love from within, because we tend to not want to get into relationships with ourselves, with other people, or with a community where we're constantly having to fight. We're wanting to join something, or even with ourselves, where we want to promote a loving aspect, where we can reciprocate more of a healing aspect through love, rather than being aware that there might be an issue and then bombarding everyone with that issue. Let's maybe bombard each other with, hey, how are you doing? How can I help? How can I share gratitude to other people? How can I promote wellness rather than promote a sense of fear? So whether our intentions are in our view of good, being what good is subjective, why not promote well-being? Why not promote love for each other? because that is actually how a community comes together. And the one that is actually not actually performing to the community standards starts to get excommunicated. That's what that actually word means, to be X of the community. So we don't want to get to a situation where we are not part of something anymore, because then the loneliness will kick in. So then again, I'm Dion from Eflowtion. I offer EFT tapping and Soma breath, and here online. So I'm actually here to, if you need an EFT tapping session, if you need a Soma breath meditation breathwork session, then definitely book in at eflowtion.com. And let's start, rather than being aware that there might be a clear issue here, rather than reacting to this issue constantly, thinking that will bring change, let's bring change within ourselves, because we can only help ourselves first. And who knows, by helping ourselves first, we might actually help the collective whole. Peace on earth is actually quite feasible. We just need peace within first. If everyone's got peace within first, then we don't actually have to hope or dream for something. It just happens naturally by itself. So that's my thoughts. I'm Dion from Eflowtion, and I'll catch you probably in the next EFT Tap and Chat. It's good to be back.